if there's someone that doesn't need any introduction, and that we're so proud having here with us is Paulo Coelho. And I mean, really, Paulo, can you come up on stage? Paulo is here with us. We're very, very, very pleased to have you, Paulo. Welcome. Welcome, Paulo. And Kathy, I think, if your voice is going down, so I'll just sit with you. But do it like if I was not there. Please sit.
Hello. Is it working? Yes, it is working. Yeah.
Welcome, Paulo.
Thank you, Louis.
I'll just sit here.
So Paulo, I think that first that maybe we should talk about this experimental witch project. Maybe you can enlighten the audience on this fantastic project that you have undertaken with related to one of your books.
Well, 1 year ago, I had this idea out of the blue because I always refused to sell the rights of my books to movies because I think that a movie takes place in the head of the reader. So I was very reluctant for many, many years till the day that I thought to myself, why don't I do a movie with my readers? And the ideal book was The Witch of Portobello because it has 15 characters. And you can choose. I posted in my blog, paulocoelhoblog.com. Then I started having partnerships. First it was HP, then it was Prisma Press in France, then it was Burda in Germany, but supporting the project. And finally, MySpace jumped in. By July 2008, this year, I had close to 6,000 movies and music. I forgot one thing. I forgot to put a time frame. So at the end of the day, I had, when we selected the 15 winners, we had a movie that was nearly 5 hours, which is nonsense, of course. So we had to cut it down, and now we are going to broadcast basically in internet before going to the festivals, because if you consider the movie festivals, you are going to consider also that people go to movie festivals and you see wonderful movies there, and at the end of the day, the only way that you can find these movies is in BitTorrent. You don't see anywhere else but in BitTorrent. So I thought, why don't you do a kind of world premiere, let's say 9 o'clock p.m. in every country, and I'm discussing that currently with some major platforms to have it there.
How do you feel about that? We were in Avignon together 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this? BitTorrent is not specifically the best place to protect your author rights, right?
Well, this discussion about copyrights, I think from the book business, from the book perspective, piracy is something that should be stimulated. Every writer should say, I'm a pirate myself, because somehow people download books and they cannot read online. So they go and buy a book, which that's why I decided to put in my site a thing called Pirate Coelho. So if any one of you want to pirate any of my books, you are welcome to do that. I only have the rights for the Brazilian version because I write in Portuguese. And I don't have the rights for French or American or Croatian or Japanese. So what I do is to collect the links from my readers. Sometimes they scan, sometimes they type, sometimes they even translate books that are not yet translated. And then I put the links there, and then the publishing house comes to me and say, oh, this is not legal. We have the rights. But I say, well, it's not my fault. I am just putting a link. It's not me who pirated. And so I managed to somehow to go beyond the limits of legality. But for a book, this is very important. I based that on an experience in Russia. In 1999, I had sold, let's say, less than 10,000 copies in Russia. And I found a pirate copy of The Alchemist in internet. I said, I have nothing to lose. Let's put this pirate edition. People can download for free. The translation was not that good. And so the next year, I had moved over 100,000 copies sold in Russia. And 2 years after, I was over 1 million copies. So I realized that piracy was helping me, was not hurting the sales of my books. So I decided to elaborate more and more. And today, when I look back, when I look to the present moment, what I do see is that I'm selling more books than ever, because this idea of being greedy, of trying to stop the share of information, does not help books. You have to share in order to somehow to get some revenue from it.
So how do the publishing companies, I don't know when this happened, how do the publishing companies...
I think you're so impressed to be with Paulo.
I'm so choked up.
I read Kathy's blog today because we had a dinner 3 days ago to organize the meeting. And so I went there, we had this dinner, and she was describing her blog. How did she feel? She felt nervous, she felt butterfly in her stomach.
Apparently my butterflies are in my throat.
Why? Am I threatening now?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Do you want me to read your questions, Kathy?
You can read my questions. No, but how do your publishers feel about this, though?
How do you publishers feel about this?
You can translate it for
Yes.
me, because they have to make money.
I apologize for the bad English accent, though, but so how do you publishers feel about this?
Well, the first reaction, they said, this is not good. This is going to stop the sales of your books. So I got a phone call from my American publisher, because it became news. I spoke in DLD, the event in Germany, and I spoke out of the blue, and people were very interested in this idea. So there were news. And I got a phone call from the CEO of HarperCollins then. Her name is Jane Friedman. And when Jane Friedman calls you, you are paralyzed by fear. It's not easy, you know. She's a good friend of mine. But still, I'm totally intimidated by her. And Jane said, Paulo, we have a problem. Like Houston, we have a problem. And I said, I know what you're talking about, Jane. Yes, you know, people are calling us, blah, blah, blah. But I said, well, I cannot take it back. I said that in front of everybody. And by the way, these links were there for 2 years. So she said, let's create something different. And then HarperCollins developed a software that you can read the book online, but you cannot download the book online. So we managed. And the other publishers, they did not say anything. But let me give you a very good example. 3 months ago, I decided to write books or to use some texts that I had, and I made 3 books, one of them in 5 languages, and the other 2 in 2 languages or 3 languages. And I put there for free download. Books only for internet. And I had, up to this day, over 1 million downloads of these books. How many comments did I get out of these 3 titles? 0. Meaning, people download, they read, and they think, oh, I'm going to buy the hard copy when it is available. So what does it mean? It means that the fact that you have the book there for free, it does not hurt your sales. And I get many, many emails saying, when this book, it's called The Way of the Bow, because I normally do archery. This is my favorite sport. And so I wrote a book on archery, but not about archery techniques, but about the metaphor of being an archer. And then I put the book there, and so far I did not get a single comment, because people don't have the hard copy. Meanwhile, I get over 400 emails a day commenting my books that we have in hard copy.
So how do you deal with that? Can you tell the story while Kathy still recovers with the tea? Can you tell the story, Paulo, on how you invited your readers for a dinner in your house, right? You told me that story. This is so amazing because Paulo blogs, and if you've not checked Paulo's blog, you should. And you publish videos. You do, like, you tweet as well. You're on different social software, but one day you decided to invite everybody home, right, for a party.
Not everybody, come on. By the way, Twitter, I had to film it because people, it's not Paulo Coelho tweeting here. So, well, I went and I filmed it. I'm tweeting, you see me tweeting, and then I upload on YouTube. Now people believe that I tweet, because otherwise they think that I'm very busy. I'm not very busy. Nobody's very busy to have fun, because I think that at the end of the day, back to piracy, I'm going to answer your question.
Take your time.
The goal of any artist is to share his work. So, as a writer, I start writing not to earn money. I start writing because I want people to read my books. And I think that every single writer does this because he or she wants to be read. Every single musician, every single painter wants to have his work or her work somehow commented or seen by other people. So this is the basic idea of contents. Contents we provide because we want to share. So when you're talking here about business model, this is a different conversation.
We should have it too.
Yeah.
After that, I'd love your thoughts on the current times and how it involves change creation.
Yeah, then back to the party. Every year I give one party to my friends. And by the way, let me go fast forward, rewind a little bit the tape. The idea of the blog was the same idea as the party. I took the Trans-Siberian train to go from Moscow to Vladivostok because it was something that I had a dream about, going from Moscow to Vladivostok. And I thought, but to make this travel alone, this is nonsense. Why don't create a blog? Because then people can travel with me, I can share my impressions, etc. Which I did. And then I got caught in this blogger's world.
Well, look at that. You have a few people caught here as well.
And then I started with, 500 visitors and 100 and blah, blah, blah. And one year ago, I had this idea. Well, every year I give one party to my friends. And at the end of the day, my readers are my friends.
Who are your friends, Paulo?
My friends are people like you, for example, Luke.
Well, but that's an honor for me. Thank
Kat
you.
is a new friend.
But like your readers, if your readers are your friends, you have many friends. I think you have
Yeah, of
exceeded
course.
the Facebook limit here of 5,000 friends.
Yeah, of course.
You have, right?
Of course. But I'm talking to this friend that will go and have dinner and stay in a bar for 10 hours doing nothing and drinking and smoking. Smoking you cannot anymore, but at least drinking and going outside and smoking a cigarette and go inside and then drinking again. So I thought to myself, why not invite the 10 first readers that write to this address to come to my party? They are going to represent, I think we are over, now over 130 million books sold, which makes close to 500 million readers, considering the ratio 3 readers per book. So I said, the first 10 people who write to this address, they're my guests. And I got immediately 10 emails. And one from Japan, one from Venezuela, 2 from Spain, 1 from England. And I said, they got me wrong. They think that I'm paying their bill, the tickets, everything. Because I said, Japan, you know, Qatar. There was someone that was in the army, in the US Army. And I said, let me send an explanation to these people and say, I'm not paying your ticket. I'm just invite you to my party. And they said, no, we understood. And I said, the party lasted 2 hours, 3 hours maximum, no more than that. No, we understand that. So I got these readers. At that moment, it was only my blog. And then this year, I had another party, this annual party that I gave. And then I went up to 40 readers, 10 from MySpace, 10 from Facebook, 10 from my blog, and 10 I don't remember. And then I think this personal connection is very important because people used to say, at least there is something that I don't understand about writers. They have this tendency to detach themselves from this contact with readers, although you need this contact.
Well, you can tell the room is empty, right?
Yeah. No,
So
you need this contact. You need this contact because at the end of the day, everybody has something interesting to say. And this is what we did. Now, using all the social communities, not only I'm sharing stories, but I'm also somehow asking my reader to comment in this and that current affair.
So, that also speaks to me to the creative process, though. So, you speak to your readers speak to you. How does technology and your ability to reach out to people like this, how does that change the way you write?
How does technology changes the way you write?
I love that
Your
you're
work, how does it change? Yeah, I do a shortcut. It's like lost in translation, right? You know, that's a French way.
I think that started with the word processor. Back to 1990, when I wrote my first book using a word processor, that it was Brida. It was before The Alchemist. It was after The Alchemist. That was my second book, and The Pilgrimage. That was my first book. So when I was in front of this word processor, using still DOS, and I said, my God, this is going to change everything. Makes your writing easy. Makes your writing more direct. Makes your writing, you can change things. Of course, you have to print. Nothing can substitute a final correction on a printed paper. You have to see the paper and then make the final corrections. But then after with internet, etc., that you start writing and going straight to the point. At the end of the day, internet web is a written media. You write, you read. Of course, there are movies, there are images, and etc. But what you want to do is to chat, is to send an email, etc. So you start to condense your ideas in a few sentences. It's like to be a lyricist for rock. You have to be direct without being superficial.
But just, Kathy, on this one, we had Philip Stark here last year at your seat, that you know, I guess. And Philip Stark started explaining that actually in a creation process, what he likes is to lock himself or like just watch the ocean and not being, he actually even, uses words like, being spoiled, right? Being like taken into, like negative, like, don't you think we lose quality as well? If you get 500 emails a day, which I'm sure you get more than that, many of them must, like, how about quality versus quantity? Do you not like lock yourself to write? You see what I mean?
Let's separate two things here. A, any creative process is a different one. B, I had this dream of a writer sitting in this mountain in front of this lake with this beautiful lodge, a fireplace there, my laptop, writing the book of my life, which I did. I went to this place in the Pyrenees and I wrote a book that was my most boring book I ever wrote, because I was totally disconnected from reality. So every time that I write a new book, I live a total normal life. I walk, I read my newspaper, I postpone. This is the problem, because you said, okay, I'm going to start writing at 11 o'clock. Then you say, oh, I have to answer some emails. And then you go to 12 o'clock. Then, oh, I have to eat. Then I have to read the newspaper. And then you start postponing. And then you meet your friends. But there is this creative tension that is building up, building up, building up. And then at 7 o'clock, just for you not feel guilty or me not feel guilty, I say, okay, I'm going to write half an hour just to say to myself that I wrote today. And then somehow you get caught in this energy. And then you write for 5 hours non-stop. But in my case, my texts, they need to be touched by this energy of life. So I cannot isolate myself. I can isolate myself and live a monastic life when I'm not writing. But when I'm writing, I need to socialize, I need to meet people, I need not to think 24 hours a day that I'm going to write that day, because then somehow a sentence, a moment, something like this will be in my book, even if I'm not conscious that this is going to interfere.
So
Yeah,
we'll take
do you want water?
Of course, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. My mic is well.
No, yeah.
Kathy, you should ask one question.
So what
I
about,
will translate.
There you go.
what about user-generated content? So with the Witch of Portobello, with the Experimental Witch Project, this was something that content came in from your readers from all over the world. How do you see that now maybe becoming part of the process and changing the dynamic of how creatives can create in the future? For anybody who didn't understand me.
Dans le process de création.
Yeah, because I don't people heard you.
No, I
People
think
couldn't
it's
understand me.
well how you see artists, changing with adapting their process of creation. based on all the user-generated content, and then we'll take a question. We have some time left for you, and we should share our time with you, with the room. So if we can have people preparing questions, if you could prepare some questions if you want, and if you could have the mic ready for Paulo for the questions.
So, content. Well, life is about content. My life is interesting or boring if I have a good content or if I have bad content. Huh? And the only way that you have to improve your quality of life is by meeting people. Of course, you need sometimes to be alone. You need sometimes to be by yourself. But you need to meet people in order to fulfill your meaning of being here. Because the most important part of human condition is to share this human condition. We do that since the dawn of times. We did that in the caverns. We did that, you know, when you go to Lascaux, when you go to Altamira, what you see there is art, is contents. What they hunt is long gone, but the art are still there. So I think that at the end of the day, contents, either in internet or in real life, is what justifies life.
So first question from the room. Can you introduce yourself for Paulo? And who would like the next question? Okay, well, get ready. This first one.
Hi, so my name is Axel Schmigelo. I'm from 7Load. We're a social media site, so on our site, content producers share predominantly video content, but also other types of content. You really got me going with your comments on how you interact with the community and on copyright. I also remember that in '95, John Perry Barlow said that the internet was the end of copyright, and that would change the way content owners present themselves, not by selling what they have produced, but by selling who they are. Is that what you do? Do you see a different way of interacting with your readers? Could you go as far as what Stephen King did, where suddenly users, even beyond the project that you did with video, would start influencing how you design a plot or how you fashion a character? I mean, is that something you can fathom?
No, I cannot do that. I cannot go to that extent that Stephen King went by creating a book together with his readers. For me, a book is a very intimate thing. It's a kind of personal relationship with myself. I write books to understand better myself. So for this, of course, I meet people, etc., but I cannot go that far. Having said that, the idea of copyright started together with the printing process, the movable type printing process by Gutenberg. So when we start having the first mass production of an artist object called book, that at the end of the day was responsible for Renaissance, it was thanks to the possibility of an idea traveling from A to B under the form of a book that we had changed the whole world, influencing arts, etc., like the movement we see and we call today as Renaissance. That said, what we see now is the opposite. People don't understand. So, just to finish the copyright thing, when books start being profitable, they said we have to protect our rights. And then they decided the idea of copyright. They did not have copyright before. What we see now, at least as for books, I don't want to elaborate on movies, I don't want to elaborate on music. I saw that in the movie business, they had a window to understand what was going on and to cut a good deal. But instead of sending negotiators, they send lawyers and just destroy the whole business. Because at the end of the day, who is going to win? The pirates. They always won. But they still exist. They are in Somalia now, and some of them, if you go back to the 16th century, they became knights, they became sirs, they became lords, you know, because they conquered the seas. Yeah.
But Paulo, you're immensely popular, and so it's great that the sales are going on so well. But if you have a writer, or in the music industry, you have a physical form of a CD or for a movie completely disappearing, right? Imagine, and I think we're at this point now, that your book, I can download it, and I can print it to a quality that gets me exactly the same as I buy from your editor.
You can do that already.
Yes, exactly. So then, if a writer doesn't have, that much, of course, huge demand as you have, how do they make money? How does one, from the music industry?
Let's go back to the very reason why people write. They write to be read. They don't write to make money.
Right.
If they want to make money, they are going to be an investment banker. Not today, but probably 2 years ago. Huh? So you write because you want to share something. And then when I start writing, I could never dream that I would make money. I wrote because I want to write. I want to be read.
So you're telling all the artists, just share everything.
I'm telling all the artists that there is no harm if you share it.
Okay.
Probably for the movies, it's much more complicated. Because it takes a lot of money to invest, and then you download, you see, and you don't pay the right.
And you don't need a box, right? So.
Yeah. So movies, I think, are quite complicated, and I don't see any foreseeable solution in the end. But don't forget, don't trick yourself by the arguments of some industries, mostly the book industry, that they are defending the money of the author. This is simply not true. This is not true. Because as a writer, I want to be read. And I'm sure that if I share, people are going to understand. They're going to buy the book. It's easy to buy the book.
But so you heard we take this question, but there's a law in France being prepared to punish everybody downloading anything, and also we'll have Didier Lombard of Orange, coming just after you, but like a little later. But they're trying to even catch the internet service providers, saying, look, if there is a Paulo Coelho book here, we'll tax you. So you don't think they should do that?
Well, I'm not French, so I cannot talk about this law. What I can talk about is about the system, not the system, the socio-political system, but this peer-to-peer system. They will find a way. You know better than anybody else. They close here, they open there.
Okay, so you're like, let it go, right?
And at the end of the day, if they track down who is pirating my books, they're going to find my IP. I am seeding my books.
Please, can you introduce yourself?
Hola, Paulo. My name is Sonia. I work for SAP Software, and since there's a lot of creative people here and a lot of startups, I wanted to ask you a question about creativity. You've said many times that you were 38 when you started writing your book, and you've often questioned yourself if it was a good move to start something at what you thought back then, kind of a late stage in life. What recommendation, what suggestion do you have for people here that have all kinds of startups and dreams on how to not let go of their personal legend?
Well, I would say that take the first step. Don't be paralyzed by your fears. I was 38. People say, oh my God, it's too late to change your life. But no, it's not too late to change your life. You can change your life anytime you want to change your life. But for this, you have to take your first step with fear, thinking that nobody's going to understand you, etc. But this is what makes life fun. You are doing your work here, blogging, for example. What is the business model for blogging? As far as I know, it's non-existent. But you still do it. You do it because you like it. And this is, you should do something that justifies your life, is to have fun, is to do something that you have fun. So don't think too much.
How
Take
about
the
recession? And we'll take one question here and manifest yourself if you have one as well later on. But Paulo, we're like, like if you read too much the media these days and TV and listen to the markets, you get negative, right?
I don't get negative, no. I get positive on a business level because the best gift is a book. It's not expensive, so book sales are going up.
So recession is good for you.
So at least for the booksellers, it's the perfect momentum. Probably not for. So look, I don't know. You are there and you see the book sales going up.
If you are creating your startup,
pardon?
If you're creating your startup, you have entrepreneurs.
That would be difficult. That would be difficult.
What would you do?
Well, I don't know. I'm not creating a startup.
Okay. We'll take one question here. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. My name is Gabriel McIntyre, Gabe Mac. My question is going a little bit past the business models and so forth. What I'm seeing on the internet is an exchange and flow of ideas, an exchange and flow of cultures, an exchange and flow of identities, of consciousness. It's a soul that's starting to happen. The tools have now come out with Twitter, with Seismic, with all these different tools. However, understanding how this technology can be used seems to be like the next step in how do we use this in our global consciousness. And I see that artists like yourselves are the ones to take the first steps. But shouldn't the artists be as important and stimulated as much as the startups themselves to try and figure out what this means for all of us?
In which sense should we do that?
In expanding, instead of just using, for instance, a Twitter just to say, I'm going to have a cup of coffee, to try and do something different with it, to try and, make an art piece out of it or whatever. It has no monetary value whatsoever, but just to try and understand how we communicate more by giving the tools to the artists that normally would not have even thought of playing with them.
I totally agree with you. But this is going to take time. It's going to take time for society to understand the importance of what we are doing, you and some artists. I give you a concrete example. If you want to see a very concrete example, I want to see a movie that won the Cannes Film Festival in 1986. It was called Thérèse, by Alain Cavalier. So I tried to buy, impossible. I tried to rent. I found a place in Switzerland. So I put my credit card, and no, you have to live in Switzerland to rent this movie. I tried everywhere. The only place that I found it was in Demonoid. So somehow, these peer-to-peer sites are becoming the real storage of things that the cultural producers don't want to sell anymore. So what I would suggest is to wait. I know that the internet time is not the real time, but there is no way to convince the society that what you are doing is for good, unless they realize And for this, they need to take time. Back to the crisis. This is going to help a lot. Probably not startups now, but people are going to start understanding that they have this gigantic web of information they can share for free. And out of this, starting with the free platform, making money. But this is going to take a while. We need this collapse that's happening now. When I see the Dow Jones going up, I say, no, go down, 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 because you have to realize that this is a failed model. So until it goes to 5,000, people are not going to realize. But when it goes to 5,000 Dow Jones, then people are going to start thinking, oh, there are some free things, and free will become profitable.
So we were very lucky to have you here, Paulo. Will you come back next year?
If you invite me, Luis.
Oh, come on, of course. Yeah. So in between, we can throw a party for you. You look like we can invite 10 friends. As you can see, I would love to have more friends for you.
Okay, I'd like really to stress the importance of having LeWeb' here in France. I just arrived for LeWeb'.
Thank you.
And having all these people here, this kind of event is as important as for a writer to meet a reader in the street and say, I'm not alone. I think that overall the whole message of LeWeb' 2008 is, I'm not alone. You're not alone. You're discussing, you're realizing that you have the same problems, and you're going to find creative solutions for that. Thank you very much for your attention, your presence here.
Thank you, Paulo.
Thank you.